Welcome back to my channel Hidden Points. Today, we're diving into the psychology of the saboteur. This isn't about a villain in a movie who sets traps for others. It's about the person who destroys their own chances, their own happiness, their own relationships, and their own progress, often without even realizing why they do it. The story of the saboteur begins early in life when someone internalizes the belief that they aren't worthy of success, or love, or stability. Imagine a child trying to build a tower of blocks. Every time it starts rising high, they knock it over themselves. Not because they hate the tower, but because the height scares them. They fear seeing it collapse on its own. This becomes the emotional blueprint for their entire life. As they age, the examples grow darker. Think of the teenager who studies all week for a final exam, then suddenly refuses to go to school on the day of the test. Getting the result terrifies them more than failing does. This is the core of the saboteur, someone who would rather fail by choice than risk failing unexpectedly. Because failure by choice feels safer, predictable, controllable. Imagine a young adult who enters a relationship with someone kind, caring, and emotionally stable. Instead of accepting the love, they feel a surge of fear. They start picking fights or shutting down emotionally, pushing their partner away. Deep inside, they believe the love will eventually disappear, so they want to leave before they are left. This fear-driven pattern is one of the clearest signs of a psychological saboteur. Consider the person who receives a life-changing job offer, then suddenly ghosts the employer. The possibility of success feels overwhelming. The saboteur is always hiding behind masks, because sabotage doesn't always look like chaos. It often looks like procrastination, or perfectionism, or emotional withdrawal, or unexplained anger. The psychology behind this is simple yet painful. The saboteur has learned that safety lives in the familiar, even if the familiar hurts. Picture someone standing on the edge of opportunity: a scholarship, a promotion, a healthy relationship, or a dream project. Instead of stepping forward, they freeze. They choose the same old patterns because uncertainty feels more dangerous than unhappiness. We see this in people who destroy friendships because closeness threatens them, or who intentionally miss deadlines because achievement terrifies them, or who refuse help because receiving care makes them feel vulnerable. The psychology of the saboteur revolves around one central wound: the expectation that good things are temporary and that they don't deserve them. Imagine someone who grew up being told they're lazy, or difficult, or unworthy. As an adult, they destroy their own chances because deep inside, they fear being exposed as that failure they were told they were. This intensifies in adulthood as the saboteur becomes emotionally clever, using humor, distraction, or anger to hide the real fear underneath. Think about someone who finally gets invited into a close group of friends, but slowly isolates themselves. They fear rejection and believe leaving first will protect them. Or the person who starts a new project with excitement, then abandons it halfway. Finishing it would mean facing judgment or potential success, which terrifies them even more. The saboteur is also shaped by shame, a deep internal voice that whispers, "You're not enough, you're not ready, you'll embarrass yourself." Imagine someone about to speak up in a meeting. Their heart races. Instead of expressing their thoughts, they stay silent, fearing visibility and attention. This extends to relationships, where the saboteur becomes unpredictable, sometimes intense and loving, other times distant and cold. Partners feel confused because the saboteur pushes them away, not out of cruelty, but out of a fear that love will eventually become pain. This psychology also includes self-protective pessimism. Expecting the worst feels safer than hoping for the best. When someone is invited to a big opportunity, instead of feeling excited, they instantly list all the ways they might fail. They use this as justification to avoid trying at all. We see this in people who turn down healthy partners because they believe healthy love is suspicious, dangerous, or temporary. Instead, they chase unavailable partners because failure feels familiar. The saboteur is often highly intelligent, emotionally sensitive, and deeply introspective. Yet this intelligence becomes a weapon against themselves. They overthink every decision until they're convinced not to act. They replay every detail of a conversation, terrified they sounded foolish, and decide to avoid the person altogether. Inside the saboteur is a constant war between desire and fear, the desire to grow and succeed, and the fear of losing it all. Imagine someone who dreams of becoming an artist or a leader, yet every time they start, They hear an inner voice saying, "Don't try, because you will fail." Time after time they walk away from opportunities, then later feel crushed, wondering why they always ruin things for themselves. The saboteur believes they're protecting themselves, but they don't realize they are also imprisoning themselves. When someone finally decides to heal and take risks, the moment life improves, they panic. They revert to old habits because wellness feels unfamiliar. The saboteur's psychology is rooted in emotional conditioning, trauma, and unresolved childhood fear. Someone who grew up in an unpredictable environment now feels threatened by stability because it feels too good to be real. They see success as dangerous because it raises expectations, and they fear disappointing others and themselves. They often can't accept praise or affection because it feels foreign and uncomfortable. Instead, they sabotage the connection to return to the emotional states they understand. The saboteur is a protector, created in childhood when the mind had to survive emotional pain by lowering expectations and avoiding risk. If a child learns that mistakes lead to criticism, they grow into an adult who avoids trying altogether. They ruin relationships not because they lack love, but because love means vulnerability, and vulnerability feels unsafe. This person isn't broken. They are frightened. They fear being exposed, abandoned, judged, or overwhelmed. Imagine someone who finally opens up to a partner, then suddenly shuts down because they feel too seen. They quit jobs they love because the pressure makes them doubt their worth, choosing the safety of quitting over the fear of failing. The saboteur behaves as if disaster is always around the corner, so they stay one step ahead by creating the disaster themselves. They're the ones who say things like, "I knew this wouldn't work out." The saboteur's psychology is also shaped by identity. If someone grows up believing they are unlucky or unworthy, they will sabotage any situation that contradicts that belief. When they achieve something great, they immediately doubt it, feeling uncomfortable because success doesn't match their inner image. They refuse good opportunities because they believe deep down that something bad will follow. They believe that disappointment is easier to handle if they cause it themselves. Self-inflicted failure feels less painful than unpredictable failure. Imagine the emotional exhaustion of wanting happiness and destroying it at the same time. These are the people who pretend they don't care about their goals, because caring would make failure hurt more. They feel guilty when things go well because they learned that good things come with consequences. When they get good news, they feel anxiety instead of joy, expecting the good moment to collapse. Inside, the saboteur is a wounded child who learned to survive by lowering expectations and protecting themselves from hope. The journey of understanding the saboteur is the journey of understanding how fear shapes our identity, choices, relationships, and destiny. Imagine the pain of someone who wants to be loved, yet pushes love away. These are the people who apologize endlessly, even when they did nothing wrong, because they feel undeserving of stability and support. The saboteur isn't weak. They are deeply protective. Their behaviors are survival strategies born in moments of vulnerability, confusion, and emotional wounds. They never celebrate their success because they feel it will be taken away. They quit when they're close to finishing something important because finishing triggers a fear of evaluation. The saboteur lives in cycles and loops, patterns and fears. Every time they sabotage something, they regret it, yet repeat it again because fear is familiar and familiarity feels safe. Think of someone who keeps repeating the same unhealthy relationship patterns, choosing partners who mistreat them because emotional chaos feels more comfortable than emotional safety. Sabotage is not laziness or apathy. It is emotional fear of loss, fear of visibility, fear of abandonment, fear of success, fear of change, and fear of hope. Imagine someone standing at the edge of a breakthrough, trembling, because the possibility of becoming someone new feels terrifying. They walk away from dreams because fulfilling them would require them to change their self-image. The saboteur doesn't want failure, they want safety. The first step to healing is recognizing that these patterns are not destiny. They are protection, born out of a fear that no longer serves you. The saboteur can heal when they learn to tolerate success, tolerate stability, tolerate closeness, and tolerate positive emotions. Imagine taking a deep breath and finally choosing a different path, a new response, a gentle risk, a moment of courage. That is when the saboteur begins to transform into the survivor and eventually into the creator of their own life. Thanks for watching.